Welcome back, everyone. Or if this is the first time you're joining the saga, my name is Sarah, and typically I metal detect in the Shenandoah Valley, with the Blue Ridge Mountains surrounding me. Today's video is going to be a bit of a departure from the typical setting, as we will be exploring the California coast. The main reason I decided to create this video is to help those of you out there with plans to take your detector with you on a trip across the country. If you plan to fly, there are some pieces of information that will be helpful for you to know before making your final decision. When I went to research whether I could take my Minelab Equinox 800 on a flight, there was little to no information readily available. I'd like to help you by sharing the research I did before my travels. So the reason I started to question if I could take my detector with me on my flight was because I know that my Minelab Equinox 800 has a lithium battery. And lithium batteries do have a tendency to not do very well in extreme pressure or extreme temperatures. These pictures are pretty extreme, but yeah, it can happen. They can swell, and then they can explode, and they can start a fire. So I didn't want to risk it. When I started to look into whether or not it could go in a checked bag, I was getting mixed signals about whether or not it could. So what I ended up doing was I went to Alaska Airlines, which is the flight that I took. I ended up going to the help center here. And then down here at the bottom, there is this chat feature. So I ended up chatting with someone just to clarify if the detector could be taken in a checked bag or in a carry-on. They told me, no, you may not take it in a carry-on bag. And that is what I was leaning towards, where I could take it. So that was pretty confusing. I did ask for a little more clarification, and they sent me over here. They gave me the prohibited and restricted items list. And if you scroll down here, you can see what is and isn't allowed in terms of how many watts the battery can be. So essentially, what I gathered was that I couldn't take it with me because it was not removable. And in order to take it in a carry-on, it needed to be apparently 160 watts or less. Now, what I ended up doing was I went and did a quick search, about how many watts my detector had, and it's 18.5. So I then went back and talked with the agent, and I said, but it's 18.5 watts. Can I take it? And they said, absolutely not. If you take the detector on the flight in the carry-on, it will be taken away from you. So that left me with double checking on if I could take my detector in a checked bag. So I ended up doing another search here, and Minelab essentially states that yes, you can take your Minelab Equinox 800 on a flight, but it's recommended to pack it carefully and follow airline regulations. So essentially what it goes on to say is that in the research that I did, it went on to say that yes, I could take the detector on the flight. The lithium battery would need to be with the LCD screen, all of that. That section of the detector would need to be put in the carry-on, and then the rest of the components put in the checked bag. Now, that sounds great, but what I got clarification on was that I could not, using Alaska Airlines, I could not take it in a carry-on. So that left me with really no option. And I decided I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to take the chance and take it in a carry-on and try to get through security, and pray and hope that I'd get there with it in one piece. I didn't feel like doing that because my detector's more important to me than just being able to take it across the country one time. Um, Now, I was looking forward to making a video that was in a different environment, showing a different side of the country and trying to detect in different areas. But in this situation, it wasn't worth it to me. With that said, I came to realize that I think each airline has different rules about what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and whether or not you can take a detector in a carry on or in a checked bag. And for those of you questioning whether or not you have a lithium battery, just ask yourself, can you recharge your detector? Or when the detector dies, do you have to replace the batteries? The rechargeable batteries tend to be those lithium batteries. Just double check that. Take a look, see if yours is lithium or if you can replace the batteries. Start there and do some research on your airline specifically and on your detector specifically, because I think each one and each situation's different. But I would recommend taking a look before you take your detector on a flight with you and potentially have it taken away. All right, that's just the research that I did and my tips on air travel and taking your detector.